Welcome back to Track Talk. You may notice that this game has not been anonymized, and I'm not entirely sure if the site has changed or if I have just not remembered how to change people's names like I used to, because it's been a while since I made a video. So I will try to do that again in the future, but for this video, these will be the actual players' names. This game is 1822 Pacific Northwest, and I think, owe 1822 as a family of games a little bit of an apology because in the past I've really been quite dismissive of the genre. But I had the opportunity to play 1822 Pacific Northwest just this week at Gen Con and actually had a really good time doing it. So I thought that I would do a video on it. I am by no means a experienced player in the 1822 system or in 1822 Pacific Northwest in particular. This is actually the only game in the system I've played, and I've only played it one time. So I want to consider this video as more of a learning video or just an exploration of the game rather than a commentary because I really don't have any expertise to rely on and no wisdom to impart upon you, the viewer. So I hope that you'll enjoy it. In the past, I've been a little bit reluctant to do a video on the 1822 system because the auctions are so numerous, I worry that it will just not be a very engaging video. But I had enough fun playing this in person that I think it's worth at least trying once. If it's not good, we won't do it again, but hopefully you'll bear with me and at least watch this one. So, with that explanation and caveat out of the way, let's jump right in. Frankie is going to be leading us off in the auction. And just speaking about the auction for a moment, if the viewers are unfamiliar with the game, you're basically going to always be bidding on, well, not always, but until they run out, four minor companies, and these can grow up into major companies. We'll see that happen at some point. And then three private companies. The private companies will pay you some revenue and have special abilities. They are pretty powerful in this game, or at least they seem that way to me, so generally worth considering. And then once the auction has occurred, we'll go into our operating round. And based on what phase of the game, we may have two operating rounds and merger rounds before we have another auction. This auction is not a waterfall auction, so each of these players is going to have four bids that they can place on one of the I guess privates or miners of their choice. Once they've placed four bids out there, they will not be able to bid on another uh, asset, but they will be able to move the existing four bids up until they run out of cash. So Frankie is going to lead us off, and he is going to be bidding on the lumber private. So lumber in Pacific Northwest is these green tiles with a $10 cost, and they will also add $10 to your run if you run a train through one of these tiles. His private will double that, so potentially quite lucrative, but he's not going to be able to do it until the three train come out. So for a while, he'll just be taking the revenue. One of the interesting parts of this game is that you can actually put a bid on a private for zero. So let's say your opponents have all put out their cubes and are competing with one another, and you hold one cube back. You may just be able to walk away with a free private. Uncommon, but possible. Frankie is going to remain on just one private for now, Opsalo. He is passing, so maybe hoping that he can pick up some of the low-hanging fruit after his opponents have competed with one another. DJ, he is going for Miner 6. Again, I have not played this game very often, but Miner 6, I am told, is quite good. And it is also in the rules that I believe every game starts with Miner 6 in this first bid box. And then the Hiawatha or the Permanent 5 train is also the private that always starts in the game. So I imagine the designer also believes that this is a pretty good minor company. And the reason that it may be good is because it has a fair amount of lumber for later in the game. It also has pretty easy access to Seattle, which is a major revenue center in the game. There are privates in the game that will allow you to cut across this river, this water, fairly easily. So some interesting potential for private number 6. DJ is bidding the minimum for that miner and also going on lumber. Again, as noted, miner 6 and lumber have some synergy, so not all that surprising to see that if he's going for miner 6, he's also interested in the lumber. And he's going to stick with two bids for now, Herb Smoke. He is going for miner 7. Miner 7 is an associated miner, which means that it is able to grow up into a specific major company, in this case, the CMPS. Miner 7 is kind of out here in the middle of nowhere. So not the most attractive starting spot, but maybe it will go for cheap without much competition as a result. He is also bidding on the permanent 5 train, and this train is worth $500 on the market. So if you can pick it up for just 20, you are in good shape. It also has a little bit of revenue in the early game. So again, this is a really good private, and it's even better if you can get it cheap for 20. Herb Smoke going on harbor improvements. So this allows you to place a tile on one of those blue ocean tiles that we were talking about before. It actually doesn't let you pass through it, but it does give you at least some revenue. Back to Frankie. He is going on the lumber again, so just upping his bid and doing nothing else. Opsalo still passing, a little bit surprising. DJ Any Reason fighting with Frankie for the lumber. Herb Smoke also passing, so not the most contested auction so far. I guess Herb Smoke sees that nobody's contesting him on these two miners, or miner and a private, and he's happy to just take them really cheap. And who could blame him for that? Frankie, he is bidding up on the miner 6. So he and DJ Any Reason have symmetric positions in this auction. And looks like he's going to not do anything else. Opsalo still passing. DJ Any Reason contesting the miner 6. Herb Smoke passing. So really just Frankie and DJ taking actions early in the game at least. And they are kind of already at each other's throats. DJ Any Reason currently winning both of those contested assets. We'll see if Frankie does anything to change that. He's going up to 130 for the miner. One thing I'll note is that at least in this first phase of the game, these bids above the value of 100 are going to be just wasted. This money does not go into the company. It does not go into the treasury. Later in the game, that changes, and you can bid over $100 and not lose money. But currently, they're losing at least $30 of value here. Opsalo is actually joining the auction for the first time, and he bids on miner 20, the Walla Walla. Gotta love that name. And the Walla Walla is down here in the southeast, and kind of in the middle of nowhere, just like number 7. So interesting that that's his priority, but let's see if he joins on anything else. He is also going to contest the permanent 5, and he jumps all the way up to 50. That may be a reasonable value for the private. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't make sense to me to more than double someone else's bid right off the bat, especially because it's not going to speed this up anything. These other players are going to just be overbidding each other by $5 at a time, it looks like. DJ is overbidding Frankie by 5, as mentioned, and he is still winning lumber. So he's in a good position. We'll see if Frankie has anything to say about that. He does overbid, and Opsalo is content with winning the Walla Walla and the 5 train. DJ overbidding on the miner. Herb Smoke has been passing for a while. I've been kind of neglecting to mention that. I will also mention that one of the fun things about this game is that the person with the most cash at the end of the auction has priority. It's not just pass order priority. So Herb Smoke, by having the least amount in the auction right now, is actually going to be going first into the next stock round if the situation remains unchanged. Frankie still contesting for miner number 6, Opsalo passing. DJ Any Reason back to miner number 6. It seems like these two players are really duking it out here, and the other two players are just kind of content to pick up the less contested privates. Interestingly, we still have a private at $0. The harbor improvements. Even if you don't really want that, you might want it for $5 because its revenue is 10. The only downside to bidding on it is that it eats one of your cubes, your bidding cubes, so you may lose some flexibility to defend another private. And then also, in terms of spending less money in the auction, that could be a difference maker in priority. However, a $5 increment in your spent cash is probably not going to make the difference here when Herb Smoke has gone as far ahead in terms of committed cash as he is currently. Frankie is opening up a new avenue of attack and actually going on miner number 7, just overbidding Herb Smoke by 5, so maybe interested in forcing Herb Smoke to spend a little bit more money. Don't know that he actually wants that private. Frankie has one more cube left. Upsalo continuing to pass. DJ, any reason? Um, After just talking about the harbor improvements, he's going to jump on that for $5. And Herb Smoke is motivated to keep the number 7. So he's overbidding by a total of $15 over Frankie's last bid. And then he also is overbidding on harbor improvements. So he's been forced to invest a little bit more in this auction by Frankie. Frankie, he took a small detour to minor 7, but he's back to minor 6 now. Opslow continues to pass. DJ Any Reason right there with Frankie overbidding him. And he is continuing to pressure for port improvement as well. Herb Smoke passing, so he's kind of given up on harbor improvements for now and just content to keep minor number 7. Frankie still fighting for minor 6. DJ Any Reason right there with him. Herb Smoke passing. And Frankie is now going back to minor number 7, contesting Herb Smoke, his minor. DJ Any Reason has not been overbid by Frankie for minor 6, so feels comfortable going for the permanent 5. This is the first auction that has 3 players in it, and we'll see if any of these players want to make changes now that this has occurred. Herb Smoke right back to minor 7. He wants that one. Frankie, he's retaking the minor 6. Opsalo, he was overbid on his train. He has been gung-ho on this permanent 5 from the beginning. Jumped right up to 50, if we recall, for his first bid. So he is going to overbid to 60. DJ Any Reason, still interested in number 6. And overbidding for the permanent train as well. Herb Smoke, content now that he has his minor 7 again. Frankie sees that and says, no, you don't. And he overbids him by 10. Opsalo still wants his permanent 5. DJ is passing, happy that he's winning minor 6 still. And Herb Smoke goes up to 150 for minor 7. This is getting expensive. It seems like minor 6 may be justified to overbid a fair amount for, but I don't know about minor 7. It doesn't seem like it's that good. Up to 190 for minor 6, and remember, $90 of that is just going to be wasted, not going to the company in any way, so this is getting pretty painful for these 2 players. Opsalo passing. DJ Any Reason overbidding, almost seeing $200 for this. Herb Smoke also passing. Frankie now getting involved with the minor number 20. I believe all 4 of his tokens, his bidding cubes, have been used now. He's on 4 auctions. And maybe just trying to make the other players pay a little bit more money. I don't think he actually wants all 3 of these minors that he's invested in. So Opsalo overbids him. DJ Any Reason is content. He has the winning bid on minor 6 and his lumber, so he's happy. Herb Smoke also passing. He has his minor. He's paying a whole lot for it, and that's all he's got for right now. Frankie's still sticking with the minor number 20. Maybe he's decided that minor 6 is too expensive and he needs to leave with something, so he's decided to change course. Opsalo now overbidding DJ Any Reason for the lumber, and we'll see if DJ wants to defend that. Again, good synergy with number 6, and he does. Herb Smoke is still passing. Frankie still going for lumber. Opsalo also going for lumber. DJ defending, so maybe just some price enforcement going on here. They don't want the good private to go for too cheap. Herb Smoke, he's passing, happy with just his minor. Frankie also passing, so he's going to take the 20, or at least he's hoping to take the 20. And that's it. So Opsalo ends up spending the least and has priority into the next operating round. Looking at the player's assets, Opsalo left with the permanent train and $5 of revenue, but no minor, so that's not that exciting. There was a minor in the auction left that was not taken by anyone. So he could have gotten a pretty cheap miner potentially, but decided to leave without one. Frankie will take the 20, which I believe he stole maybe from Opsalo. Um, he was the one that was competing for the number 6, but he ends up with the number 20. Herb Smoke ends up with the 7, ended up paying up a fair amount for it. And then DJ Any Reason has spent by far the most in that auction, but ends up in a pretty good position. It seems like he's got the lumber, that good miner, and the number 6, and then harbor improvements. So this will potentially give him a run out of Port Townsend in the future. For this blue tile here. We are into the first operating round. Number 6 is up, and he will buy an L train and lay a dit. One of the unique parts of this game, and actually something that we got wrong when we played this in person just this week, is that you buy the L train for a miner company before you have to run your trains. So you actually don't have to fall back. Which is something that is kind of important in terms of eventually upgrading to the 2 train, which is kind of where the game actually starts. So if you're going to play this in person, make sure that you realize for some reason the miner companies are an exception and they're able to buy a train before they operate for the first time. So he is going to run for 40, it looks like, and the miner company half pays by default or by guaranteed. So he's going to get 20 and the company gets 20. He needs 80 for the L to 2 upgrade. 7 is now up. 7 is going to lay straight, maybe hoping to eventually get over to Seattle, but it's going to take a long time to get there. And then also buys an L train and is able to run just for 20 because the L train actually doesn't need to hit anything. It just runs its own stop. It does have the option of hitting a dit if it wants it, but doesn't have the requirement to. Interestingly, he decides to head straight west. Could have headed northwest to, I assume that's Davenport, and added $10 to his run in the next operating round, but chose not to. 20 is now up, 20 operating down here in the southeast, and will lay a gentle curve towards the dit, probably hoping to improve his run later in the next operating round. So also running for 20, paying out 10. And we are into stock round 2. There was no merger round because there's no 2 trains. And if we look at the revenue from these companies, I think it's pretty easy to see why the number 6 is a pretty valuable private, running for double the other players. And as a result, is going to be able to get a 2 train, an operating round or 2 earlier than the other players and just run better than everybody else. These miner companies, of course, nobody else can invest in. So DJ Any Reason has locked in 50% of that revenue for himself for as long as he wants it until he upgrades. We're back into an auction, and miner 12, 10, 15, and 16 are up. 12 and 10, I don't know where they are. They're all in order. So 15 and 16 are down here, and then 12 and 10. 10 is in Tacoma, right outside Seattle, and 12 is kind of again in the middle of nowhere. So 15 and 16 maybe we'll see some interest in, particularly 16 since it can get into Portland, and then perhaps 10 will be of interest to the players as well. In terms of the privates, we have a Pullman, a port similar to our last private, the major port, I believe. And then we have the coal mine. The coal mine allows you to bust through one of those mountains in the middle of the map and gives you exclusive rights to run that track until it's upgraded. So could be useful for the number 7, who is making a beeline for this mountain. And the Pullman is just useful for everyone. It allows you to run the dits at no penalty. All right, Opsalo is up and goes for the number 15. The number 15 is in that western corner of the map, and it has a pretty heavy cost to get anywhere good. So a little bit surprised that that's the company that he is prioritizing right out of the gate. Maybe there's something going on here that I don't understand. He is also bidding on the number 16, so that's 2 minor bids right off the bat. And I can't imagine he wants to win both of those, although they are quite close to each other on the map. Neither one of them is an associated miner, so they will not be able to merge with one another. But but that's 2 bids for him, and he's going to stick there for now. Frankie, he is also bidding on the 16. He has the 20 already. 16 and 20 could potentially link up through Portland in the late game, so that would be potentially useful or synergistic track to have. Um, and he's also going to bid on the coal mine. I don't know that that has much synergy with either of his privates or his miners, but for a bid of 10 and a revenue of 10 may just be worth it for the money. Herb Smoke, he is bidding for the number 10 miner. That's the one in, I believe, in Tacoma, and that would potentially allow him to lay track through the mountains, both east and west, to get his privates or his miners into Seattle a little bit faster. Also bidding on the coal mine makes a whole lot of sense for him to take the coal mine with that number 7. So I expect he's going to actually be prioritizing that a fair amount. And he's going to pass for now. DJ Any Reason bidding 0 for the Pullman because why not? And that's all for now. Opsalo overbidding for the number 16. I question this number 15 bid. I don't know that anybody's going to overbid him for that, and he may just be stuck with that for 100. I don't know if that's really what he wants. I assume he would much rather have the 16. Frankie overbidding for the 16 and still going for the coal mine. Coal mine being bid for Herb Smoke, who really, really wants that. And that's all for now. DJ, he's going to bid 0 for the dock upgrades. And again, these privates, if you can get them for 0, why wouldn't you? Opsalo, he's going to bid 65 right off the bat for Pullman. We've seen this player do this twice now where he just jumps the bid up really high off the bat. I assume he's trying to speed things up by not doing all these $5 increments. But if the other players aren't doing that, you're really not saving any time and potentially overpaying. Frankie still going for the coal mine. And why is he interested in this? Let's look at the map. Is there a mountain near him? Not really. He's got the 20. Be a while before he gets up to these mountains. And I don't know that he ever is really motivated to build through those. He has the ability to build down into Portland instead. Herb Smoke still fighting for the coal mine. And DJ Any Reason overbidding Opsalo for the Pullman. Opsalo bidding on a third miner, the number 10. So he has no miner companies currently. The other players all have one. I think he's indicating that he wants to leave this auction with 2 miner companies. But again, I question that number 15 bid. I think that the 10 and the 16, if you're going to try and shoot for something, would be much, much more reasonable places to start. Frankie still in the coal mine. Herb Smoke overbidding for the number 10 in Tacoma. Herb Smoke also bidding for the coal mine. DJ Any Reason content with getting the dock upgrades for 0 and the Pullman just passing for now. He's the player that spent the most in the last auction, so maybe he wants to cool his jets a little bit here and just let the other players spend some of their capital. Opsalo overbidding for the number 10 and passing. Frankie Teardrop sees that DJ Any Reason's going to get a private for 0 and drops a bid just to deny that, I assume. Herb Smoke still fighting for the number 10. And DJ Any Reason valuing the dock still and fighting for that. Opsalo, he is potentially giving up on the number 10 and going back to the number 16. Number 10 and number 16 both seem like good miners, which is why I really question that number 15 bid. It's going to cut into the available cash he has to contest these auctions. Frankie bidding for the 16. Herb Smoke and DJ Any Reason are content in passing. I think the important thing there is that Herb Smoke gets this coal mine. I think he's really going to want that. DJ Any Reason, I don't know that he cares that much about any of these auctions. The Pullman would be a nice bonus to have, but I don't know if it's a make or break auction for him. Opsalo still fighting for the number 16. And Frankie's staying right with him. Frankie's been in a lot of contested auctions so far in this game. He's not afraid to drive up prices. DJ Any Reason passing. Opsalo giving up on the 16 right now and going for the Pullman, it looks like. Frankie happy and passing. And we pass into the next stock round. So Opslo does get the Pullman um, and the number 15, which is that minor that's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Um, so he's got some reasonable private income, second most in the game, but not a whole lot else. DJ, any reason he ended up with lumber? Um, it looks like in the last auction, all he got was the dock upgrade. Okay. Frankie Teardrop, he ended up with the 16. That's a pretty good minor, I think. And then Herb Smoke ends up with the number 10 and his coal mine. So his two minor companies, the 10 and the 7, are going to potentially be able to link up through this mountain here. It doesn't mean that both of them can run through there, but it will be very beneficial to one of them. And of course, he can potentially merge the 10 and the 7. So maybe that will be the strategy he'll take. So I think things are potentially, you know, winnable for at least three of the players. I do worry a little bit about Opslo's position in this game. DJ, any reason? He is laying the builder token on the timber to his west. These builder tokens decrease the terrain cost at the expense of losing your actual track lay. So it's kind of spending an action now to save money later. And he couldn't run that track anyways. So it makes sense to do this. And he's still going to have the highest revenue of any of these miners, running for 40 and now has $80, which means he should be able to upgrade the 2 and start the second phase of the game, which is exactly what we see. Herb Smoke is operating the 7 in the east, and instead of continuing towards his mountain track or the timber, he is now heading up towards the dit. So I'm not entirely sure what the rationale to lay this track in the last operating round was. That may have been an error because he could have this dit already if he had laid that last time. Regardless, running for 20. Yes, running for 20 and is unfortunately unable to upgrade his 2 as a result. The number 20 private is laying track down south, lays the dit, so we'll be running for 30 this time and is going to pay that out. Number 16, first operation for this miner, and this is down in the southwest, buys his L train and lays a gentle curve on Historia, probably heading over to Portland. Although may see him lay the lumber and then get the dit first, because with an L train, he's actually not going to be able to take advantage of Portland. Paying for 20. The number 10 is up in Tacoma. He buys his L train and lays a dit to get a little bit extra cash. So he's running for 30, pays it out. And then number 15, all the way here in the boondocks, he buys his L train and lays a builder coop on his home tile. So he's going to be running for 30, but it's going to take him a while to build his way out of that dead end. There were no mergers as none of the companies were connected, and we are into stock round 3. We are about 30 minutes into this broadcast, and we are in stock round 3. These auctions take quite a bit of time to go through. DJ Any Reason is up. Before we get to him, let's just look at what is available. So we have our first regional company. Regional companies are similar to minor railways, but they do not actually operate. They just pay revenue. I think that they cannot be merged, but they can be acquired. So we will get to acquisitions later in the game, but they are a way to potentially get some extra shares in your major company. And I think I read a post somewhere by the designer of this game that the reason these regionals exist is because they, I guess they're not very good and they tend to export trains. The reason I say that is because the unbid on miners or regionals will export an L train, and if there's an unbid on miner in the first box, it will actually export an additional train of any type. So this just kind of speeds up the train rush a little bit. So we have a regional. The number A, or the letter A regional, is all the way up here in Calgary, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Then we have miner 18, which I believe is down south by Portland. It is. So similar to 18, but it is an associated miner, so maybe a little bit more valuable than 17. Number 14 and 4 are also up, and 4 is here in the northeast, and 14 is where? Down here on the east coast, or the east of the map. Not the most exciting location. So of the miners to look out for, I think this number 18 is going to be the most contested. In terms of privates, we have the Credit Mobilier. This allows you to move one of the privates in the stack of cards. Potentially useful. I think it also can give you a station later in the game. Then we have a permanent 2 train. The permanent trains in this game are pretty good, so this should definitely be contested. This train does not count towards your train limit, and it does not satisfy your train requirement, but it will guarantee that you never fall back as a result of not having a train. You'll always be able to pay at least some revenue. So that is a very nice ability to have. And then for some reason, they changed the name of this private in 18x.games. In the print version, this is called the Ghost Town, and it will allow you to remove a DIT from the map. So, let's say you're the 20 player and you don't want to run this DIT later in the game, that private could potentially eliminate that for you, which would be pretty nice. All right, so we'll go into the stock round, and DJ Any Reason didn't spend that much money in the last auction, so he actually is going first, despite spending a ton of money in the first auction. He will be bidding on the 18, no surprises there. He already has the 6, which we thought was a pretty darn good miner, so if he were also able to get the 18, that would be very strong for him. And he bids 200 right out the gate for it. We are no longer in phase 1. We are now in phase 2. So this $200 will not be wasted. It will go to the company. And I think by bidding 200, he's basically ensured that it will par or float this miner at 100. He'll be operating first, and nobody has money to overbid him. So he just spent all of his cash right off the bat on the miner, and he's guaranteed to get it. He has no more actions to take. Actually, that's not true. He could put bid cubes on these privates and hope that he gets them for $0. Doesn't seem likely, but really not a reason not to do it. Frankie Teardrop, he is going for the permanent 2, and he bids $20 on it, almost certainly worth substantially more than that. He is also bidding 0 for the DIT Crusher, or Ghost Town, and passing. Opslo, he's going for the Credit Mobilier, just bidding $0, and the DIT Crusher. Herb Smoke, he's going for the permanent 2, overbidding Frankie by double, and then also on the Credit Mobilier. DJ Any Reason is functionally out of this auction, so in fact, he is officially out of this auction now that there are bids of more than $0 on these privates, so we can ignore him for the rest of the auction. He was a man on a mission, and he accomplished that mission. He's going to get an excellent miner. Frankie, he is going for the DIT Crusher still, and the permanent 2. I think that now that this miner has been removed from the auction functionally, these are the two interesting auctions, the permanent 2 and the DIT Crusher. Permanent 2 is probably much more valuable than the DIT remover. Opslo, he is valuing this Credit Mobilier. We would have to look through the stack of companies or privates to determine whether or not this is actually something that is worthwhile. It is, I guess, a free token, which is never bad, but I don't know that it's really that exciting of a private. Herb Smoke, still going for the permanent 2. DJ passing. Permanent 2 is being contested, and Frankie is still in the hunt for both of these privates, and he is almost at his max committed. So he's not going to be able to win both of these, it doesn't look like, and we'll see if he's able to win either one of them. Opslo overbids him for the DIT Crusher and is focused on that. Herb Smoke, I think, probably needs to just focus on this private or permanent 2 and hope that Frankie is not overbid again on the DIT Crusher. That said, if he overbids Frankie now, Frankie may decide to just bid another $5. Yeah, actually, Frankie has lost both of these auctions. He only has enough money to bid one more time. That's not true. Because he's been overbid on the DIT Crusher, he has a lot more money for the permanent 2. So we'll just have to see how it works out. Hard to predict. Herb Smoke, as predicted, still going for the permanent 2. And DJ Any Reason actually electing to, or sorry, Frankie actually electing to overbid on the Dit Crusher rather than continue to contest the permanent 2. That's interesting. I guess he is the 20 company owner, like we said, so maybe he does want to get rid of some of these dits. And he now has bid on the permanent 2 as well. For some reason, I must have misread things. I didn't think he had the money to do that, but he does indeed. Opsalo passing, happy to get the credit Mobilier if that's what the other players allow. Herb Smoke, I imagine we'll see him overbid for the permanent 2 still. He does. Frankie continuing to contest. Herb Smoke going up to 90. The regular 2 train, remember, is only $120, so they are getting to that point. But this is a permanent 2, so presumably it's a little bit better than a regular 2. And it looks like everybody's passing, and Herb Smoke's going to get the permanent 2 for 90. All right, so we are back into the operating round, and just looking at the game state for a moment, it looks like Opsalo will be leaving with priority. He still just has that one miner company, and it's really not that good. Frankie, decent position with the 16 miner, not so much the number 20. No other privates really. DJ Any Reason, still I'm favoring his position with this 18 and 6. Just seems like 2 really strong miner companies. And Herb Smoke, 7 and 10 with that coal mine, potentially useful. Now with a permanent 2, so doesn't have to worry about falling back ever. But does he actually have routes for the 2 train? He does in the 10, so he can run into Seattle with that 2 train. Okay, reasonable. Number 18's first to operate and buys his L train. He was parred at $200, so even with the L train purchase, he has $140 in the company and is going to be able to buy a 2 train off the bat. I believe he could also pay to upgrade Portland's revenue. There's a fun little feature of this game where Portland and Seattle's revenue centers are, I guess, fighting or dueling with one another. So you can upgrade Portland, and then Seattle can't upgrade until Portland's upgraded again. At least unless we get into Brown, and then Seattle can upgrade twice. So maybe worth doing that with the 18 before the 10 is able to do it, to deny the 10 some extra cash. Looks like that's what they do. So lay the tile up to $40 for Portland, and now is going to run his train for $40 and presumably buys a 2 train. He does. The number 6 is now up. And with the discount from the builder cube he laid before, he's able to lay a tile on that timber track. He does have the timber miner as well, so may look to lay all this timber and then get a nice run for his 2 train in the future. It's going to take him a long time to build all that. Paying for 40. And we're on to the number 7. Number 7 does lay the dit, so he's going to be running for a little bit more. But unfortunately, he's $5 short. And I will point out that if he had laid this instead of this the first time, he would now be at enough money for a 2 train. But because of this detour, so to speak, he is not able to upgrade for a 2. Number 20 now operating. And looks like he's making a beeline towards Portland. Makes sense. That is where a lot of the revenue is. And he also has the number 16, so maybe hoping to eventually link his 20 with the 16. I believe the 20 is an associated miner. Yes, so he will be eventually able to merge the 16 and the 20 at Portland. Number 16, he is able to upgrade his, the 20 upgrades the 2, and the number 16 is just heading the timber tile down to the dit. Again, with an L train, not going to be able to take advantage of track into Portland, so in no rush to get over there. He is nowhere near having money for a 2 train, and we are into the operation of 10. 10 is not motivated to lay track into Seattle because it costs some money, and instead gonna, I guess, work on heading over to his other miner, the number 7. He's paying out for 30, and we are on to the number 15, who is placing a builder cube again so that he can actually afford to lay track for his home tile, and is going to be running for just a piddling $30. We are not doing an acquisition round or a merger round because there are no link ups. So we are into the second operating round of this set. Now that we have a 2 train, we are going to be doing 2 operating rounds per stock round. And we are back to number 18. Number 18 is acquiring his privates, and we'll be laying a port here so that his 2 train, it looks like, will be able to take advantage of some extra revenue. This is a $30 port, which is better than a yellow city, so he's going to get a little extra money that way. I guess I didn't realize that this does not count as his tile lay, so he actually gets another tile lay that he's still able to take advantage of. And he's running for 110, which is far and away the most in the game, and getting half of that into his personal coffers, which is really good. The number 6 lays another lumber tile, and with a number 2 train, as soon as he lays that dit, we'll be able to get an extra $20 from those 2 tiles. So for now, just running for 40, pays it out, and we are on to the number 7. Number 7 is laying kind of random track. So we criticize this track, and I'm going to criticize this track as well. Feels like he's heading in 3 directions all at once, but none of them are getting him anywhere good. I imagine he's assuming that he will have a 2 train for his next run and wants to run into a city as opposed to a dit. But I'm not entirely sure. So running for 30 still, and should be upgrading for the 2, which we see. Now onto the 20. 20 still going to be heading over to Portland, I assume. And actually just passing track for now, running a 2 train for 40, paying it out. The number 16 is laying the dit, so we'll be running for 30, actually 40 because of that timber. And he's paying that out. The number 10, he is working on getting towards his mountain to cooperate with his other private. He is able to upgrade his 2 train, so most of the privates are now, or miners are now running 2 trains. And then 15 is bringing up the rear, and he is finally able to lay his home. But boy, he's operated 3 times now and laid a single tile. That really does not seem like a good private or miner company. He is able to upgrade his 2 train, and we are into the stock round. Opsalo going to be leading us off, and in terms of things to look out for, the number 4 was available last time, wasn't bought, so still there. And then we have the only associated miner, the number 5, which I believe is also on that eastern side of the map. It is. So not the most exciting miners in this auction, I wouldn't say. In terms of privates, we have some extra tile lays, some extra builder cubes, which are very similar in the sense that they get you to lay more track faster. And then we have a permanent L train. So last time we had a permanent 2, now we have a permanent L. The permanent 2 is probably strictly better than the permanent L. We saw the permanent 2 go for 90. We'll see what this L train goes for. Opsalo leading us off. He bid 0 for the surveyors, and that's it. Frankie Teardrop sees the permanent train and is interested in that, enough for a 0 bid at least. DJ Any Reason contesting the surveyors. So far, nobody interested in any of these miners, which I don't entirely fault them for. This will export a ton of L trains if nobody bids on any miners. The L trains, there are 7 left. We could potentially see 4 of them export if all these miners go unbid for. And first bid on the builder tokens. And DJ Any Reason has bid on all 3 of the privates. So we'll see what he's able to leave the auction with. Herb Smoke bids on the extra tile lay and the builder cubes. Opsalo joining the fray on the permanent L train. Frankie overbidding him. DJ Any Reason still fighting for the extra tile lays and the builder cubes. So we're seeing a little bit of a dichotomy here in terms of people's priorities. DJ is really wants those track lays, which makes sense. He has some work to do on this number 6 to get to major revenue centers. So I think that's why we're seeing him interested in that. And then it looks like Opsalo and Frankie are more interested in potentially that permanent L train. Herb Smoke contesting the extra tile lays. With the 7 and the 10, he could also use some extra help laying tracks, so it makes sense. And the cubes. Opsalo bidding on the permanent L train. So this is what I'm talking about. DJ and Herb Smoke are interested in the tile lays, and then Opsalo and Frankie seem to be more interested in the permanent L train. So we'll see two players fighting for both of those things, it sounds like. Frankie sticking to his guns on the L train. DJ on the tile lay. Actually, he's bucking the trend and going for the permanent L train. Herb Smoke passing, so he's winning both of those tile laying privates right now, and he's happy with that. Opsalo still fighting for the permanent L. We're already up to $75. If the 2 train was worth 90, is the L train really worth 75? Frankie overbidding on the builder cubes. DJ is bidding 80 for the permanent L. Herb Smoke passing, so I guess content to win just one of the tile laying privates. Opsalo, he actually goes for a miner, so he's the only player I believe with one miner. Makes sense that he would be the one to bid for one. Is the 11 worthwhile? We question the number 15. Where's the 11? At least the 11 is nearby the 15, so potentially can lay some synergistic track. Okay. Frankie is not going to let that happen. He says, oh, no, you don't. And he's going to bid for the 11 as well and goes up right up to 180. That's an expensive miner. If I'm Opsalo, I might just say, well, you can have it. I'm going to do something else with my money. It will make Frankie have a hard time, I think, affording these other privates now that he's committed so much of his cash to the Aberdeen. DJ going up to 40 for the track lays, and Herb Smoke right there with him. Opsalo actually overbidding for the number 11. Boy, okay, I did not expect that. I know that he only has one miner, but is the number 11 really worth this much? Let's see if Frankie overbids him. He's passing. And DJ still going for the builder cubes. Herb Smoke and Opsalo passing. Frankie, he is going back to the builder cubes, so he's playing Opsalo like a fiddle. He bid him all the way up on this number 11 and is now just content to go back for what he actually wants, it looks like. And we're into the operating round. So Opsalo paid a ton for that miner. And it looks like Frankie ends up with the builder cubes. The DJ Any Reason ends up with the permanent L. So that's pretty good. And he can put that right into one of his miners right now because it's available in phase 1 and we're phase 2. So may see that happen. Some truly monstrous runs from some of these companies. Probably the 18. Herb Smoke, he got the tile lay. And then Opsalo, as noted, paid a ton for this number 11 private or miner. 18 is up. He does not acquire his private company just yet. I believe he could have acquired this permanent L train. I see. I think you're only allowed to have one L train in a company, so maybe that's why we're not seeing that. Where you can only run one L train per token at least. Maybe you can have more than one in a company, but just one per token, so he probably couldn't run it anyways. He lays a DIT, which he'll be able to take advantage of with his L train. And he's running for 120. And he upgrades his L train. So he now has two trains and a permanent L train if he wants it. So he's going to be running very hot in the next operating round. We'll see if he wants to lay towards 21 or towards 16. Either one of those would give him pretty darn good revenue. Number 11 is up. This is the newly floated miner, and not taking any of his privates. Going to lay a Gentle Curve City, potentially something that number 15 can link up with. Both of these are unassociated miners, so they won't be merging. Buys a 2 train straight up just because he was bid up so much he's able to afford that. We'll see if he also wants to get an L train. And is going to defer that for now. The number 6, he is building his DIT, and with a 2 train is going to be running for, looks like 60, which is pretty good. Number 7, he is getting into that city for his number 2 train and running for 40. The number 20 has some privates he could build in. May see him do this American Bridge Company. Does he have expensive track? Not really. I don't know that he necessarily wants to build up this way, so may see him just hold on to those dits for later in the game, specifically when he links up in Portland. Could potentially put a bunch of them on Vancouver and get Portland to open up to the rest of the map through there. So he completes the link up into Portland and pays out. Number 16 is now operating his other company. And if he were to complete the link up with Portland, his 2 companies would be connected. We may see our first merge in the game, which would potentially open up tokens for him in Portland. So we do see him link up to Portland. Unfortunately, he's not able to hit that revenue center with just an L train, but he will be upgrading to the 2 just now. So next operating round, he will be able to take advantage of that. Number 10, he is laying the city, and I guess eventually looking to link up with the number 7. He's running for 40 and pays it out. Number 15 last to operate. Looks like he is heading towards his fellow private company, the number 11, and he pays out for 15. Merger round, we'll see if the 20 and the 16 actually merge. It's an interesting mechanic in this game. Right now, he has 50% of the revenue of both of these companies. If he merges and ends up with less than 50% of the parent company, or the child company, I should say, potentially leaving some money on the table there. But merging does give him the ability to, open up new tokens, potentially more track points, higher train limits. So there are some kind of less tangible benefits to merging. The downside, in addition to losing percentage of revenue, is that you open up your company for investment by other players, which also is not great in terms of your net gain from the company's payouts. We'll see what he decides. So they do merge. And the way this works is the value of the private or minor companies being merged has to be compensated to the player, and they can take that money from the new company either from its treasury or as shares. So depending on what he pars this new company at will determine the value of those shares and how many of those he will end up with. So just looking at this, his minor value was 290. He's going to have to make that up to himself with shares. If he were to pick, for instance, a $90 par, he could get 3 shares and then $20 cash, or he could actually buy 4 shares and pay the company $70 into its treasury for that 4th share. We'll see what he decides. So he does pick 90, and we'll see how many shares he wants. So he does focus on getting the 4th shares, and now he has to decide what to do with the tokens. Let's just look at what his decision was. So he takes the token in Wallula and moves the other token onto his charter for presumably Portland. Makes sense. I will say that he ends up with only 40% of this company, so as opposed to operating his 2 minor companies, in theory, he's making a little bit less with this company. That said, if he's able to put a token in a valuable spot and increase his revenue, he may actually end up with more money than he would otherwise. Nobody is able to buy shares, at least for this operating round, so he doesn't have to worry about them kind of diluting his company's revenue and decreasing his net benefit. It is an early merge, but we'll see if it works out for him. DJ, any reason? Have to imagine he's taken this permanent L train. He does. And now 18 has actually had the track laid for him into Astoria, so he doesn't have to worry about laying track for his next route. Um, are we in green yet? We are not quite there. So he's not able to upgrade Portland even further and not able to upgrade any of these cities. May not see much interesting track from him. He is going to place a builder cube to decrease the cost in Vancouver. Fair enough. And now he has 3 trains, and he's running for a monstrous 180, getting 50% of that. He's starting to really run away with this game, I think. Number 11 is up. Number 11 completes the link up with the 15. So that's good news for Opslo, but this may be too little too late. Paying for 20. DJ Any Reason operating his other minor company, the number 6, and he's going to lay yet more timber, and his run should be the same, $60. Almost getting enough money for a second 2 train in this company, but really not quite there. Number 7 is up. Number 7 starting to head towards that mountain tile, no surprises there, and running for just 40, paying out half of it. Number 10, he is laying the timber into the mountain tile, so I imagine in the next operating round, one of his companies is going to be taking advantage of this coal private, and then we may see, actually, we will not see the 10. Oh, sorry, the 10 and the 7, it looks like they could merge if he wanted, so that may be our second merger. Number 15, he is laying a builder cube on his home tile. Once again, probably looking to eventually get the number 15 into Portland over the $75 track, but boy, that's going to take a long time to do. This number 15 just seems like a really bad investment. The first major company is now operating, and this is the Northern Pacific. He doesn't acquire any privates. He is going to place a builder cube on 010, the Vancouver track, same as the number 18 minor company did. And interestingly, he could have put more tokens on there with his private, but I guess he just wants the revenue for now. So we'll see if he drops this token on Portland and runs his trains out of there. Looks like he does. It actually cost him $100 to do that. For some reason, I thought he had a free token from his merger, but I guess he does not. Running for 130, not quite as good as the 18, and furthermore, he only has 40% compared to DJ Any Reason's 50% of his company, so he's going to be falling a little bit behind there. Paying it out, and we are into the stock round. Frankie, only major company is the one he owns, and he is leading us off in the stock round. He has to decide whether or not he wants to bid or buy shares. It is incremental cap, at least at this phase, so he will put some more money into his company, but he may be limiting his long-term potential by buying these shares cheap. Other players may want to look into that and potentially buy and then sell shares. We'll see. In terms of minor companies available, there are a Associated Miner still, the miner number 5, and there is a regional railway. The private companies, we do see a special private where it lets you lay track, so not a port, but actual track on the blue tiles, potentially useful for the number 6. Also, some appeal, I guess, for the minor companies operating down south here. They have blocked themselves with a port on this tile, but could potentially escape north through these tiles here. So may see some action on the Pacific Portage Company. There's another Dick Crusher or Ghost Town, and then the paper mill. Paper mill increases the city revenue that is next to timber, so potentially useful for the number 6. And he's the only one with an immediate obvious benefit. So maybe not the most exciting auction, but we'll see. Frankie is bidding 200 off the bat for the number 21. It looks like nobody else will be. Actually, DJ Any Reason could overbid him. And I believe at this point in the game, that would put some money into the treasury. It's not just wasted money if you go over 200. So it won't increase your stock value, but it will give you more company funds. The 21, let's look where that is on the map. That is right here, right in between the MP tokens. So maybe he's just hoping that he can prevent his company's run from being split in half. I don't know that he needs to be worried about that at this juncture because he's running all of his trains out of Portland probably, but that may be why he's motivated to acquire that company. I don't know that DJ Anyreason is going to be motivated to overbid him for that. DJ Anyreason is buying a share in the MP, probably realizes that 130 revenue or payout is the second best in the game right now, only trailing his number 18. So just the rich are getting richer. He's paying shares. Herb Smoke, he is bidding for the paper mill. Opsalo buys a share in the NP as well. Probably not great news for Frankie, who may have been hoping that his treasury would remain intact a little bit later in the game. Frankie is passing, content to just sit on this number 21, maybe regretting that he bid 200 right off the bat, as he really doesn't have that much money available for other bids at this point. DJ Anyreason actually is overbidding for the 21. A little bit surprised to see that. I don't imagine that he really wants that. Maybe just hoping to get Frankie to spend a few extra dollars. DJ Anyreason happy to bid $0 for some of these privates. Very reasonable. Herb Smoke, he is passing. That's a little bit hard to explain. He has not really committed very much. Certainly the $10 of revenue are worth a bid of $5. Opsalo, he is bidding $5 as noted. Frankie, is he going to overbid for the 21? He does not actually. He's bidding for the Crusher, the Dick Crusher. And I imagine DJ Anyreason might be a little bit scared right now that he's just dropped $205 on this miner that I don't know that he really wants. Maybe I'm missing something. Again, I don't fully have the rules to this game internalized, so maybe there's some significance to this miner that I'm missing, but I'm definitely not seeing it. DJ Anyreason going back for the Dick Crusher and the tile company. Herb Smoke still passing. He's happy to walk away with the paper mill. And if we look at that, why is he excited by that? Paper mill doesn't help either of his companies, at least not right now. Maybe just looking for some cheap revenue. Opsalo, he really doesn't have that much cash, and he's spending it on the special tile company. His two companies, do they have a reason to want that? I guess it would allow him to potentially bypass this $75 track into Portland from his number 15 home. So that may be his motivation there. Makes sense, but he doesn't have enough cash to guarantee that he walks away with that. He spent a lot in the last couple auctions. His revenue has just also been very lackluster, so he's just been gradually falling behind as a result. Frankie, he does go back and overbid for the 21. DJ Anyreason, I imagine he's breathing a sigh of relief with that. DJ Anyreason, yeah, I take it back. So I must be missing something here. He does seem to truly want that miner. Also bidding for the special tile placement. Again, I think that's pretty useful for his miners and also Opsalo miners. So I'm a little bit surprised to see DJ Anyreason spending so much on the miner 21 if it means he might lose out to Opsalo for the P16 private. I think that that's probably much more valuable to him than the miner. Herb Smoke passing. Opsalo able to overbid, but starting to run low on cash. Frankie, he overbids DJ again. DJ sells a share, dropping the price of the NP. And where is he putting that cash? I assume he's going to overbid for that miner 21, which he does. Okay. So there's something going on here that I don't understand. Also bidding over on that special tile company, Herb Smoke, passing. And Opsalo realizing that he probably does not have the cash to overbid for P16. In fact, he definitely does not. So it has to change course and try and get something else, at least for some revenue. Frankie is shutting that down, saying that you don't have enough cash to win this. And does he also try and overbid for P21? No. Um, he actually looks like he cannot win the P21. DJ Any Reason has locked that down. So that's why we see Frankie bidding for some of these privates. DJ Any Reason is starting to be able to just bully the other players because he's running for so much. His net worth is, you know, almost double most of these other players. So he's able to bully them in these auctions. He is winning his minor company, and he's also going over for that Dit Crusher as well. Herb Smoke, passing, Opsalo, just looking for anything he can leave the auction with. Herb Smoke has been sitting on that paper mill for, several rounds here, uncontested, and Opsalo is just getting pushed out of everything, so has to try and win something with this paper mill. But Herb Smoke should be able to shut that down. Frankie bidding for the Dit Crusher still. DJ Any Reason overbidding. Herb Smoke says thanks, but no thanks to Opsalo. Opsalo has no money and will be leaving with nothing from this auction, it looks like. And looks like everybody else is content to pass. So DJ Any Reason now has 3 miners, is making excellent revenue with the 18, decent revenue with the 6. I say decent, but he's actually running for, I believe, the most of any of the miners, so pretty darn good, and has now secured himself a 3rd miner. And now that I'm looking at this, maybe he wanted the 21 because it's a quick way to merge the 18. That may have been the motivation there, but does he really want to merge the 18? He's getting 50% of that revenue right now, and he already has a token in Portland. So I don't know that it's actually to his benefit to merge. I'm going to look back for a second and just see what the other miners were. So there were no other miners that he would be able to merge with. Maybe that was the only option he had to merge in the foreseeable future. If we look here at the upcoming miners, that may be what he's worried about. It's going to be a while before this 17 comes out. And actually the 17 is another associated miner, so he could not merge that with his 18 anyways. So maybe that's why he is valuing this so much, because he realizes that's going to be his, really basically his sole opportunity to merge the number 18. Okay, so I'm not saying that that's for sure the reason, but that may be the reason. Number 18 is up, and is he going to continue to place builder tubes on Vancouver? Instead, we are now in green because a bunch of these companies exported trains, so he's able to upgrade Portland and massively increase his revenue to 250. This is really, really good for him. And he still has an L train because even though the 3 trains rust the L trains, he has a permanent L train, so he doesn't have to worry about it. Are any of these companies falling back trainless? No. Looks like they were all able to upgrade their L's to 2s before that 3 came out, so at least we don't have anybody in dire straits there. Number 21 is up. This is DJ Any Reason's 2nd miner. And the 21 is going to upgrade his home and can buy a 3 train, has exactly enough cash to do it, and does. The 11 is up. 11 is going to gain a Pullman and is going to have to associate that with his 2 train. Looks like he's going to be running this DIT in the near future, and as a result, wanted to take advantage of the Pullman. So does lay the DIT, and interestingly, instead of running into Olympia, which is a $30 city, is going to be deviating up north. Did he end up with, he doesn't have any of the tiles that allow him to lay across water, so unclear to me where exactly he's going. But regardless, does have a little extra revenue running for 50 with that Pullman. Number 6 is up. He takes his lumber baron because he's now got a 2 train, is presumably going to be running through some lumber, and he is able to lay the dit to connect in with the number 11, and his 2 train is going to net him $80. Okay, number 7, he takes the coal mine, and he's going to be laying that mountain. So his 7 and 10 are now linked and presumably will be merging, and they will have the sole right to run through that mountain text for the foreseeable future. Running for 70 now, and the 10 is up. He takes the paper mill. Paper mill, I don't think is going to be very useful to him. I guess he can use it in Park Place potentially. A little bit underwhelming. So it does upgrade Park Place, and assigns the paper mill there. So okay, going to get a little extra money there. He's running for 70, and we are into 15. 15 could upgrade 11's home tile, I guess. Gonna just place another builder cube and run for 40. And we're into our only miner company. Miner company is going to take the builder cubes. And does he upgrade Vancouver now? He does. So Vancouver, an extremely expensive city, but by placing 4 builder cubes there, able to knock the $150 cost down to only 120, or sorry, only 30, I believe. Maybe he placed a. I'm not entirely sure how that works actually. I thought it was a $150 cost. Is it not? It is. So I don't know how he got away with 4 builder cubes and paying nothing, because each of those builder cubes is a $40 discount. Seems like he should have had to pay $30 there, but I must be misunderstanding something. Regardless, has a very nice revenue center that he can take advantage of with the NP. So he actually tokens in Vancouver and is running for 240 or 200, and he pays that out. He's able to buy a 3-train, so his revenue is going to be up there with the number 18s in the next operating round. But unfortunately, again, he only owns 40% of his company, so that is a little bit of a balancing feature for him. He doesn't issue or redeem any shares, and we are into the next operating round. Looks like, or sorry, merger round. And we will have to see if the Portland miner company actually merges with the 21, or if he wants to just run these 2 companies for miners for a little bit more time. Looks like they do merge. And we'll see how many tokens or share certificates he ends up with. So again, his value is 510, and he pars it at 100. I assume he's going to pick up 6 shares of this company. It's going to be a monster with 4 trains. He does. Anybody else merging? Looks like the 7 and 10 are merging. 7 and 10 are part at 100, and he is only able to get 4 shares. Number 11 is now up. The first time DJ Any Reason is not the first person to run, and that's just because he was merging all of his companies together. Number 11 is upgrading Ports Townsend, and I don't think he has the ability to actually run that tile, so a little bit surprised that he's doing DJ Any Reason's work for him. He's going to attach a Pullman, and with that, he will be able to run into Ports Townsend, so better revenue for him. He runs for 120 and is paying. Number 6 is now up. He buys the special placement into this company. And what does he do with it? He is deciding where to place his special tiles. And I actually do not see them on the map. So it's 018. Let's turn on the coordinates. 018. So he put 1 here and 1 here. Okay. And he is doing this with the number 6, even though they don't have any connectivity. I did not realize that that was possible. So this is pretty nice, right? He's giving good track for his major company. He's going to be able to bypass this DIT, and he's also giving himself an out to run up north um, and bypass the $75 city. This will open this up for other companies as well, but it's going to be at a $10 deficit to those other companies, and that $10 actually gets added to his company. So he's helping them, but he's also helping himself. Number six, now operating, runs for 80 and is just paying it out. Opsalo is actually acquiring the the credit mobilier. So I think that will give him a token in a company when he eventually grows up his number 15. But he's going to lose out on the private revenue for now. It's going to go into his company instead. So instead of the token, he actually moves a private to the top of the stack. Let's just look briefly at what that private does. Backroom negotiations. Um, so it looks like it will allow him to um, form a major company. So maybe he's looking at the queue and realizing that his 11 and 15 have no opportunity to merge together, and he's trying to figure out a way to get himself a major company. He then upgrades the number 15's home, and he will be running for 50. The MP is up. We are into our major companies, and he is running out of Portland, and his track is going to be out of Vancouver, so he's looking to upgrade into Seattle eventually, it looks like. And he's able to double lay now that we're in major companies in phase 3. So running 3 companies for $300 by running all of them out of Portland, it looks like. Pays that out. He's actually able to double jump, and he redeems a share from the market. That was the share that I believe DJ Any Reason put there. DJ Any Reason now running his permanent company, 4 trains in this company, and 60%, so his revenue is going to be even higher. He doesn't take any private companies, and he actually destinates in Wallula. So I think he's able to double that run if he's able to run a train from Wallula to his home in Portland, which with a 3 train is not going to be quite possible, but he will get there soon. So he is running for massive 370. He actually withholds the L train and pays out the rest, which is still enough for a triple jump. So we may have a runaway winner here with DJ Any Reason. And the last major company to operate is going to be the CMPS, and he is getting his permanent 2 train. And since he has grown up, he will have 3 runs and 3 trains. So pretty good news for him. He is also destinated and will be doubling Seattle, it looks like. He also tokens in Park Place. So maybe he wants to run trains out of Park Place as opposed to Tacoma because the paper mill is in Park Place and that will increase his revenue. So he's going to be running for 210, and he pays it all out, which is enough for a double jump. He buys the 3 train. I think that's the first 3 train we're seeing. Is that correct? No. There's actually a bunch of 3 trains out already. And it looks like there's 5 trains in this major company. That's pretty incredible. We are into stock round 6, and just looking at this game state, DJ Any Reason is double the net worth of Herb Smoke and Opsalo. And while I'm sure comebacks are possible, that seems like a pretty tall order, especially when we look at Opsalo's position where he just really doesn't have very much potential in terms of map development with his miners. So I think we can safely assume that DJ Any Reason is going to come out way ahead of Opsalo. Herb Smoke, he has a minor company or a major company. He has reasonable revenue, but he is going to be falling behind further as well. And then Frankie Teardrop is the nearest competitor. He technically has the most cash, but I think that's because he's, 2 shares behind DJ Any Reason already, um, and just wasn't able to invest everything in the last operating round. So I'm pretty confident that DJ Any Reason is going to win this game. Since we are still learning this game, maybe we will continue for another stock round or so, but we may be able to call this. Looking at the auction, we have several associated miners, the number 1, the number 5. The number 1 is all the way up here. I don't know that anybody is excited to start that one. There really hasn't been much track development in that direction. The number 5, I suppose we could see someone try to cannibalize the track that has been laid by the CMPS, but again, they will have to upgrade this Mountain Hex to really get into useful track. It's only $75, not the end of the world, but something to be aware of. And then we still have the Regional Railway, which I don't know that anybody is going to be eager to buy in. And then the number 9, that is here. So I guess similar to the number 5 in terms of eventually cannibalizing this track. In terms of privates, we have another permanent L train, a Pullman, and then a mail contract. Okay, so these permanent trains are probably going to be an object of contention, and I don't know about the rest of these miners or privates. Frankie is buying shares. This company is pretty incredible, so it makes sense to invest in it before it all sells out. Of course, they are capitalizing this company, and these shares are expensive, so he's going to have a lot of money for trains in the upcoming operating rounds. Herb Smoke, he is continuing to invest in his own company. That makes a little bit less sense to me. The share price between these two companies is not that different, and the revenue is quite different. In terms of these 2 trains rusting, probably not going to happen before the major companies run, I don't assume. It would have to be quite a expensive float for 1 or 2 privates to make that happen, I think. So surprised to see that he's buying the CMPS rather than the ORNRC. Opsalo, he buys the ORNRC. DJ going back and buying the CMPS. He cannot buy the ORNC, so it makes sense that he's not. So far, it looks like nobody's interested in the auction. It's just buying shares. Frankie buying a second share in the ORNC makes sense. Herb Smoke, he buys a second share in the CMPS. Now Max there. Opsalo, he buys the CMPS. DJ Any Reason, CMPS. Frankie, CMPS. So that company is actually floating up now, sold out, fully capitalized. Herb Smoke and Opsalo are passing. Interesting that they're passing when there are $0 bids available, particularly on permanent trains or Pullmans. So that is questionable. DJ Any Reason, he is bidding 0 because why not? And Frankie overbidding by 5. Herb Smoke and Opsalo maybe just kind of giving up in this game because they're so far behind. Otherwise, hard to explain why you wouldn't bid $10 for one of these privates. I guess Opsalo's out of money, so it makes sense, but Herb Smoke, I question that. DJ Any Reason, bidding 40. Frankie is selling a share, it looks like, in order to bid. But again, this share can be redeemed. It makes it more likely that the ORNC is going to double or triple jump by decreasing its stock value. And it gave company cash already. So buying and selling share in this game is not as damaging as it is in some games. Will allow him to contest these privates, which he seems eager to do. Herb Smoke still passing. Opsalo selling a share, so this company will not be floating up. And looks like he is going to trade over for the ORNC He actually buys it from the Treasury, actually continuing to capitalize this company. DJ Any Reason still bidding for these excellent permanent trains, and Frankie is fighting him for them. Herb Smoke and Opsalo really don't have the cash to contest this, and in terms of cash, Frankie should be able to win at least one of these privates because he has more cash, but probably cannot walk away with both of them, so we'll see which one he prioritizes. DJ, he is bidding for Portland, the permanent train, and the Pullman. Frankie overbidding him for both. And DJ Any Reason going back for the mail contract. And it looks like he's going to allow the 2 trains go to Frankie. Okay, that's rough. Somehow he is able to go back and bid. Okay, I guess that's makes sense. I don't know why he didn't just do that up front. So he bid on the Pullman, and Frankie's going to immediately overbid him. DJ Any Reason staying in the auction, and we're seeing this Pullman get bid up quite high. And now they're changing gears and going for the L train. Frankie still has plenty of cash to bid. So bidding up to 75 and can go quite a bit higher still. I didn't think that he was going to be able to walk away with both of these privates, but because DJ Any Reason has overbid him for the mail contract, he may actually be able to do it. Quite an expensive Pullman. Frankie has now overbid him on the mail contract, which may mean that DJ is able to leave with the Pullman. And it looks like that's what happens. So they split the permanent trains, or the Pullman at least, and then Frankie ends up with the mail contract. Number 11 is up. Number 11 may just want to upgrade his home. Instead is going to put a builder cube. So he's not interested in using this bypass. He's going to focus on actually running into the city, which is quite expensive. But if you have builder cubes, it's just time instead of expense. He's going to use his Pullman to massively increase the run of his 2 train to 120, which is pretty darn good. Pays it out. Number 6. He takes the Pullman that he just won, and he's going to be running for something similar as a result. He links up with the $20 DIT, and he's running for 190. And again, he gets 50% of that revenue. That is really, really good. Opsalo running at 15. Is he going to just put another builder cube on the southern city? Looks like not. So he upgrades Aberdeen, the 11 home, and runs his 2 train for just 60. We are now into the major companies, the NP operating out of Portland, I believe. He is taking his permanent L train and his mail contract, and he should have a pretty darn good run with 3 routes out of Portland and 4 trains. Does he link up into Seattle now? Looks like he does. Pretty nice. He does not quite have money for a token, it looks like. So he's going to pay for 430, and his treasury, unlike the RNCs, has not been depleted, so a lot of the money is going into the company. He's going to withhold with the LP, and that is still enough for a double jump. He buys the first 4, so I think I misread the situation because I was forgetting that these trains would export. He's actually able to run ahead of the ORNC and rust its 2 trains before they run, which is fairly significant. That costs the ORNC a lot of money. So maybe we should have been watching operating order a little bit more carefully here because the fact that the ORNC got sold down looks like it changed operating order. So maybe DJ Any Reason should have been trashing Frankie's shares to manipulate operating order a little bit. You can only trash someone's shares one space, so it may not have been possible to change operating order. NP, he is not issuing any shares, and we're onto the RNC. He's probably a little bit sad that his trains did not get to run. He's going to remove a DIT somewhere, it looks like. And he does that down south, which will allow him to run a 2 train into tile 014. And he's now running for just 200. That's a big difference in operating revenue. He has a ton of cash, though, $1,100 into the company. Imagine we're going to see him redeem a share and then buy some trains. So he buys a 4. I'm not actually sure what the train limit is right now. The train limit for a major company is 3, and I don't think the permanent L train counts as one, so he may want to pick up a second 4 train. Just going to pass for now. Does he redeem a share? He does. Okay. So still in good shape, but the fact that the NP was able to operate first is really a heartbreaker for him. CMPS, he is laying a second city next to that timber and runs for 190. He is going to withhold on one of the trains and pay out, which is only enough for a single jump. He also has a ton of cash in the company and buys a 4 train. And we are into the second operating round. Opsalo still the only player without a major company, and really no opportunity to get a major company right now. 11 is placing a builder cube, again trying to bypass this ocean track. He's going to run a 3 train with the Pullman, should have pretty good revenue there. And he actually ran for 190. The 6 train is up, or then a 6 company is up. He is upgrading into the ocean tile and looking to eventually get into Portland, I'm sure. He's going to run for 230, and he pays that out. 15 is up. 15 is not laying any. Actually, he did lay track, upgrading this DIT, it looks like. Hoping to get into Seattle down the road. One thing I neglected to mention is it looks like there was a token from the NP on Tacoma. So for some reason I thought that he did not have money for a token, but it looks like he ended up with a token there anyways. And we are into the operation of the NP now. He's going to remove a DIT somewhere. Sumner. So that is the DIT right outside Tacoma. And with that, should have a pretty easy run into Seattle from Vancouver. So he's running for 415, and he is able to pay out 370, it looks like, which is enough for a double jump. ORNC, he's going to take a port, see where he places that. For now, he has completed the bypass of that expensive city that Opsalo has been trying to build. And he is running for 370. So running for a little bit less than the NP, but he owns, I believe, 20% more of this company than Frankie Teardrop does. So the actual dividends being paid to the player are probably pretty close. He is able to double jump on the RNC. And not sure what is going on here. Looks like there's some decision with the tokens. So he acquired the number 6, I see. All right, so he's going to be able to get some shares, I think, from acquiring that. So he's able to actually exceed his share limit, and the ORNC is now sold out. So by buying in his company, he was able to compensate himself in shares, which is a way to exceed the share limit in this game. So well done to him, and he has pretty excellent map position for his company in the long term now. CMPS, last major company, he is laying a sharp upgrade out of Seattle. Not sure where he's heading with that. Runs for 360 and pays it out, which is enough for a triple jump. And we are into the stock round. So let's just look here. We were favoring DJ Any Reason, and it looks like he has extended his lead even further, despite that poor timing with the NP ORNC in terms of the 2 runs. The NP is guaranteed, it looks like, to operate before the ORNC unless multiple players sell shares. DJ Any Reason is not going to be able to do it on his own. So that is a fixed operating order. I'm not entirely sure. We'd have to look and see how the NP managed to get ahead of the ORNC. There must have been a triple jump on one of these companies that the other one didn't get at some point. Otherwise, hard to explain because I believe the ORNC was pretty far ahead at the start. In terms of the auction, of course, there are shares available. EMP is a pretty attractive company to buy some shares in, although it is very expensive. And if you're a Herb Smoke or Opsalo, you don't really have much money to go around. In terms of the miners, again, the regional and the number 1 are available, and then some of these random miners, not the most exciting. This is that backrooms negotiation that Opsalo, I believe, paid his private to move in the order. We have Boomtown. This will let you lay a special dit. It's kind of the opposite of Ghost Town. And then Ski House gives you some extra money on a token next to a mountain. So just some minor privates here, just extra revenue for the players if they want it. Not the most exciting auction. CMPS is now sold out. DJ Any Reason, he buys the MP. Herb Smoke buying an MP, not a whole lot cash after that. Opsalo buying the MP as well. Frankie buys the second to last NP, so bad news for him. It looks like DJ Any Reason is going to be able to pick up 2 shares in this company, which of course is decreasing the net benefit to Frankie. So the rich are getting richer. DJ Any Reason has plenty of cash left for miners and privates if he wants. Herb Smoke is bidding for the Boomtown and Ski House. Opsalo, he's going to bid on backroom negotiations, just 0. Neither of these players really can guarantee that they walk away with anything from this auction. Frankie, he's going to overbid on Ski House. DJ Any Reason, backroom negotiations. Herb Smoke, overbidding. Opsalo staying in it for the backroom negotiations. Frankie, he actually bids on the regional. So the regional is in Tacoma. This would potentially allow him to acquire this company for shares, but since the MP is already sold out, he's not going to be able to do that. It does, I guess, secure a token there. Maybe he just wants to deny that token to the ORNC, who could otherwise end up with it. But he already has a token in Tacoma with his major companies, so acquiring that is not going to do anything for him. This may just be a denial bid for preventing DJ Any Reason from getting this, but it is quite expensive to do that. DJ Any Reason is sticking to the privates for now. Herb Smoke passing, Opsalo fighting for backroom negotiations, but probably won't see him end up with it. Frankie is passing. DJ Any Reason overbidding for backroom negotiations. Herb Smoke passing, Opsalo staying with it. DJ Any Reason and Opsalo at each other's throats for this miner, this private. Going up to 55. How much money does Opsalo have? He has another $98 available to bid if he wants. This miner is almost certainly not worth that. Is this important to DJ Any Reason? Does he need this to merge something? I don't think that he does. He doesn't actually have any minor companies to merge at this point. So not entirely clear to me why he wants this, but I have not seen this private in action yet. So there may be something that I'm missing. DJ Any Reason going for Boomtown and Ski House. He's just picking up everything. He's got plenty of cash. Herb Smoke overbidding for Boomtown and Ski House. Everybody else looks like they're passing. DJ Any Reason, he is overbidding again. And Herb Smoke firing back. DJ Any Reason passing. So it looks like he is content with just Ski House. And we'll see if the other players are just going to pass here. Looks like they do. Okay. So no huge changes in that auction. Mostly just all the companies being sold out. The 11 is up. And the 11 is able to create the link up down south They already had that link over the ocean, but now will not have to pay that $10 deficit to take advantage of it. And just taking a step back for a second, in terms of trains, um, I think we did see a 4-train export because that first miner was not bid on. So we are inching our way towards these permanent trains on the 5s. 11 buys the last 4, so we do have permanent trains available. He takes advantage of backroom negotiations, um, and I don't really know how this miner works, so we're just going to see what happens. So he's basically given himself a way to create an associated miner to get a major company, it looks like. Okay, so that was important for him, but I think he's the only one that really cared about that. MP is operating 3 trains, and he is laying track down into that DIT, placing a builder cube, and running for 425. But again, he only has 30% of this company on top of DJ Any Reasons. So even though he's paying out a lot of money, it's not going to get him very far ahead in the game. He's able to single jump with this and not buying any trains. I think we are sitting on the 5 trains. So whoever has train space should be snapping one of these up. I believe that ORNC is train locked with 3 trains and then 2 of these special trains, an L train and a P, or a Pullman. So he probably cannot pick it up. The NP, um, I'm not entirely sure if he's train locked or not, because I think this LP is a special train and does not count towards the limit. So a little bit surprised we didn't see a 5 train come out there. And then if the LP is permanent, then the 2P is, or sorry, if this counts for the train limit, then the 2 train does too. So if that's the case, none of these companies will be able to pick up a 5 train. And we'll just have to wait for the merger of the 15 and 11 to buy the first 5. ORNC laying track on N11. Not entirely clear where he's heading through there. He's going to token Aberdeen. Aberdeen is where? It is up here on the 11 home. So I guess he's going to be looking to run into Seattle, maybe bypass Tacoma. But without these special blue tiles, he's not going to be able to run through the blue. So I'm not entirely sure where he's heading with that token. He's going to run a 3 train. I think maybe he just wanted that token in order to run a train with a Pullman to get all these dits, because there are quite a lot of dits in this area of the map and a lot of timber. So with the Pullman, he's going to be running quite well, actually. Maybe that was the purpose of that token. Yeah, so this 3 train with the Pullmans alone is running for 260, so his revenue is 650. That is really strong. That must be this route here with the 3 train hitting Port Townsend, Aberdeen, and Portland. Really monstrous revenue. He is full paying, and he's going to actually only double jump. I think there's a limit to when you can triple jump. I think you have to be below, yeah, you have to be below 150. So he started above there. That's why he's not able to triple. If he's able to double jump again, he will overtake the NP in operating order. CMPS, he is going to take his extra tile lay into the company, also Boomtown, and he is just upgrading into green, running for 360, pretty good revenue, but really dwarfed by the ORNC. And he is able to buy the 5. So unclear to me why he was able to buy that and the ORNC was not. It's just not really clear which of these trains count as trains. It gets kind of complicated with all these permanent trains and Pullmans. But regardless, we are into brown. And some of the companies have to discard trains. There's a merge around, and Opsalo will finally be running a major company. He pars it at 100, and we'll see how many shares he gets. 5 shares, okay. And now we have only major companies on the map, so we can forget about those pesky minor companies finally. MP is up. MP has Brown and is immediately laying in Portland. So unfortunately for him, the ORNC is going to be able to take full advantage of his own track and running for 525, but only paying 470. And looks like he is also acquiring a company. He must be acquiring his B company. So he gets company cash into his personal treasury, but is not able to take advantage of shares since his company is already sold out. And then he also gets a token. But this opens a token up in Tacoma. ORNC is laying the ski house. And he is upgrading Vancouver into Brown, so his revenue is going to be even larger than last time. And he's running for, actually it's lower because he had to discard a train. So he's running for 470, or actually more. He adjusted his routes, so he's running for 600, and he's going to withhold on his L train, which means he pays out for 510, enough to double jump. I think that puts him ahead on the market. He's tied at least, and he may be able to double jump again if he's able to increase his revenue a little bit more. CMPS, he is upgrading Seattle. Seattle's stuck behind Portland because they're the dueling cities. And he's running for 620. His revenue is actually pretty good now. And he full pays for a double jump. The first operation of the latest major company, he's able to finally take advantage of the 5 train, which I think he won in the very first auction. So that was a slow burn. And he's going to have to discard a train to do it. So discards a 3. And just running more timber in order to take full advantage of his Pullman. So he's going to be running for 580 as well. And we are into the merger round. I'm not entirely sure how this works now. I think they can just directly acquire these miners because we're in a late enough phase. I'm not sure. Looks like we are now late enough in the game that they can just directly par major companies, and DJ Any Reason has priority, so he's going to par the SPS. SPS starts where? It doesn't look like it's placed a token yet, so I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to look. Opslo is buying paying shares in the SWW. Herb Smoke also going for paying shares. Frankie paying shares. DJ Any Reason goes back for paying shares now that he has secured the presidency of the SPS. Opslo, he is going to help float the SPS, it looks like. Herb Smoke is going back for paying shares, and that company is sold out. So all the major companies are sold out except for the newly floating one. And looks like everybody is looking towards the SPS. We'll see if anybody wants to trash shares. DJ Any Reason is not in any rush to invest in his own company. It looks like this can be a pretty split presidency. So he's going to end up with 4 shares, and Opslo should end up with 3, it looks like. Frankie is bidding on a minor, and this is a unassociated minor, so he's actually not parring a major. Minor 13, let's see where that is on the map. In the middle of nowhere, so not really sure how that benefits him. DJ Any Reason passing, Opslo passing, Herb Smoke passing, and we are into the next operating round. This video is getting kind of long, so let's just look at the game state and see if it's just worth calling it here. In terms of players, DJ Any Reason has almost met his cert limit. He has by far the most shares of any player. Opslo is closest to him, but is in second to last place, so really not a contender. His nearest contender is Frankie, who is 3 shares behind him, and it looks like ORNC really doesn't have any concern about affording permanent trains. Should be easily able to buy a 6 or a 7 if he needs it. Um, Maybe he parred the SBS in order to push trains and pressure the other players, particularly. Well, it looks like the two poorer players already have their permanent trains, and the NP has plenty of cash for a permanent train. So he's really not pressuring anyone, I wouldn't say. Um, so I think we can probably just call this game. I don't see a way that DJ any reason is going to lose it. I am curious where the SPS starts, so maybe we'll just take a look at that. We'll go through this operating round and then call it. So Frankie is buying a train out of the NP, and I think that this is in order to open up a train slot in order to rust the threes. So that's clever. He has consistently been able to remain ahead of the RNC in terms of operating order, which means that he gets the runs on his trains that the RNC is lacking. And actually, he's going to be able to pick up 2 6s with the NP because his first 6 purchase is going to rust the three. So that's pretty good. But again, I think that the way the share portfolio has worked out, DJ Any Reason has secured enough of this company that there's really no way back into the game for Frankie, um, unfortunately. But I think that's what we're going to see here is he's going to pick up 2 6s. So he links up with the 13. He's going to be able to acquire that company if he wants it for tokens. The MP may have dropped all of its tokens already, though. He has a bunch of tokens spread across the map, so maybe that's not going to work out for him. But at least by acquiring the company, he has gotten the cash into the company, and he's been able to eliminate the train liability of the minor company. So he upgrades in Seattle, it looks like, and is able to place a token there. He runs for only 270, it looks like. And he buys the 6. He probably will pick up a second 6 here. Is that not the case? Doesn't look like it. It seems like he's passing. I'm not entirely sure, again, which of these trains count towards the train limit. So maybe he could not buy the 6. Um, Seems like he should have a slot for it. Because I don't think that L train is counts as a train for that purposes. ORC again being beaten to the punch by his rival major company. He is upgrading in Portsmouth, and he's running for 440, so still good revenue, but he has consistently been losing out on revenue because his trains have been rusting just before he's able to run. He is only able to single jump, and he buys a 6 train. CMPS upgrading Park Place, taking advantage of his minor companies to lay builder cubes on the mountain hex that he actually placed. That's interesting. And he's going to run for 630. And he runs for 630, but he withholds the vast majority of it. And I guess he's looking for another permanent train. SSW, he is running for 610, pays it out. And it looks like he is acquiring a minor. So he acquired the C regional, which is going to give him a token and also, well, actually, it doesn't give him any cash because that $200 goes to the bank. So that doesn't really help that much. SPS, where does this company start? Wallula. Oh, sorry. He starts in Portland, but he has upgraded Wallula. Okay. Well, Portland's a pretty important revenue center. Unfortunately, Portland has been pretty much surrounded by tokens, so his long-term runs are probably not going to be that good. Um, and he's able to buy the last 6. And we are into operating round 8.2. Well, why don't we just finish this set of operating rounds and then we'll call it in the stock round. 13, he is laying a upgrade there. For some reason, I thought that 13 had been acquired already, um, but it looks like he is able to run a 4 train there. ORNC, he has somehow leapfrogged the MP um, in operating order, but this is a little bit too late in terms of rusting trains, um, so that's less important. He is attaching Pullman to the 6, and with that Pullman, he's going to be able to hit a ton of these dits. Should be a very nice run for himself. Running for 580, he pays that out, which would be a single jump, and he's able to buy the E train. All right, so he is finally able to rust the other player's trains before they rust his. So turnabout's fair play. And then the NP is up. He is upgrading Portland into gray. And will also have a very nice run, but he unfortunately does not have a Pullman, so it's going to be not quite as nice as the ORNCs. He's running for 555, but he looks like so he's going to pay that out. And he's not going to buy any trains. Looks like he is acquiring his miner, the 13th, and he's able to get a token that way. But again, that money goes to the bank, not to his presidency. CMPS, he is laying a token in Seattle and running for 510. Looks like he's mostly withholding, so he must be looking at an E train for himself. And he does. SWW, not the greatest runs, but he is able to take advantage of this whole Western Coast timber and dit mecca in order to run for 390, it looks like. He withholds that, and it looks like he'll also be picking up a E train, which he does. SPS, don't imagine this company is going to have an amazing run, but I think its primary purpose was just to kind of push trains, so may have already served that purpose. Upgrades Wallula and runs at 6 for 280. And we are into the stock round. Looking at the game state, looks like DJ Any has continued to expand his lead. And in terms of the bank, there's $6,000 left, but with 5 companies operating, all of them operating for multiple hundreds of dollars, I think that we will see the bank break because they are all averaging like $400. So that's 2,000. Well, actually, so if there's only 2 operating rounds, the bank may not break in the next set. They probably will be running for more than that though, because they all just bought these expensive E trains. Yeah. So regardless, I think we can call this for DJ Any Reason. I don't know that we need to sit through the end of this game. Let's just skip to the final result. DJ Any Reason takes it in a landslide, winning by about $4,000. He actually is able to, sorry, nothing to do with him actually. Opsalo, the player we thought was going to come in last, actually comes in third, which is a little bit surprising. Looks like the bank did end up breaking in operating round 9. And we had 5 permanent companies when we last looked, and now there are 7. So 2 more companies floated. Looks like Frankie floated the CPR and the GNR because his only company was the NP. So that may be why he ends up losing out to Opsalo because these 2 companies didn't run in one of the operating rounds. I assume this was a kind of desperate bid to extend the game by buying more trains. But it looks like it didn't quite work out for him. Wow, these runs got really massive with the E trains, $1,300. So I've grossly underestimated what the runs would be. I didn't realize how powerful these E trains were. Let's just look and see what an E train looks like. So let's look at the ORNC. So with the E train, I assume that's this double track. I think the E train is allowed to run the same track as the other trains. And then it I forget exactly how it works. Maybe it doubles the revenue of the centers it hits. Um, so that's why its revenue is so high. Okay. Well, I enjoyed my single play of Pacific Northwest in person. I don't know that it makes for a very compelling video, so we may not do very many more of these for the channel, but I'm glad that I sat down and made this video, and hopefully it's useful um, to the viewer. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more videos in the future.